Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to Rise and Shine this beautiful Thursday morning. And of course, I can see all of us looking all radiant and beautiful. That's a word,
Yeah.
perhaps. That's in a way to make your morning as sparkling as possible. Yeah, my name is Otobasito.
Yeah, good morning. And today is actually the second day. And I remember back in school when they say, tick says the clock, tick, tick. What you have to do, do quick. Welcome to Rise and Shine on Spectrum Television. My name is Janice Cobham.
Very bright morning to you there, a very esteemed audience. I am Uyanek and I'm very delighted to be here with you this morning. Let's rise and shine.
Yeah.
Of course, like I just mentioned, the red looks great on you.
Oh, thank you.
Like, seriously. And it goes along with to show how beautiful God created you. But quite unfortunately, a lot of persons don't seem to feel satisfied with the way they look. Perhaps because they're not having the fat in the right places. So they want to, help God to remold themselves.
I like the way you said that. Yeah, helping God to remold themselves. I think it's just like a craze right now, a trend. Women are no longer very comfortable with the way they are created. It's either they are going to do something around their faces, maybe uplift their nose a little bit, or make their mouth smaller. But I think the one that is more rampant these days is the one that they go to do lipo to remove fat from particular places around the body and then put on their butts. Everybody wants to have this big butt, and I'm wondering what's really the problem. Is it that men love the butts really big or something?
No, I think it's like we mentioned yesterday, the pressure society puts on women, and perhaps the one women put on themselves as well, because a typical human has insatiable needs, and then you're created a certain way, you have a certain kind of figure, and then you see your friend who perhaps you feel is more appreciated because she has a certain kind of shape, and you want to have that same shape because you want to get the same attention and all of that. So yes, that is one of it. I recall listening to DJ Kupi and Kidwire on one of their Insta Live, and I feel Kidwire and DJ Kupi actually established that fact. Then it was because DJ Kupi went on a low cut. She actually had a haircut, and then she felt a lot of persons were not appreciating her the way they used to appreciate her. And then they said because she has a short hair, and the society expects that they have long hairs, flowy hairs, and then it makes them look classy, or they are seen a certain way. And she was concerned, like, what really changed? I'm still the same DJ Kupi because I want to put more attention on my books. I want to read and study more. I don't want to have to worry about my hair and all of that. So I decided to go on low cut. So yes, it's the society, it's the perception, it's the ideal woman, it's the mental, it's a fantasy that men have in their head about women. And it will surprise you that most of these surgical procedures are done by men. So perhaps they use women to experiment some of these things, and then if it comes out fine, like what Nengi Hampa did during the Big Brother, you saw she was the center of attraction. She got all the attention of all the guys in the house just because she had a curvy, boot. And
I think I'll differ from you, but because they say different strokes for different folks. Men love things differently, if you ask me. And all this conversation is coming at the background of a popular Port Harcourt big girl. Her name is Christabel, who died. And then her friends went, viral on social media talking about it. And they said she died when she went to do lipo at a particular hospital in Lagos. But sadly, she didn't make it alive. Now, that is one out of many other kind of stories that we have surrounding this particular issue of liposuction, where people go to have go under the knives and do not come out alive. But then even with all of that, women especially, do not still want to understand that, look, we have to be comfortable in our own skin. So if it's not liposuction, it is we trying to, bleach our skins. It is us trying to do one thing or the other. Just like Otobasi said, we're trying to help God recreate ourselves. And we seem not to understand, the side effects of some of those things and how it can. We've seen pictures where people went to do lipo and then the silicone in their butts busted, and it was a problem. It became a problem, you know, trying to manage, trying to fix and all.
Well, certainly that it's a problem because she's not the only person that has lost her life in the course of trying to perhaps recreate herself, for lack of a better word. You could remember, if you remember very well, the wife of President Olusegun Obasanjo, that's Stella Obasanjo, where back 2005 when she went for cosmetic surgery in Spain. And then due to complications, she lost her life and never actually, you know, got it back. So you have, it's from, you know, regardless of the fact that it's done more of those in the celebrity, in the entertainment industry, those are celebrities and all of that. And then you also see that to a large extent, it's the westernization, it's the idea of being a white woman that has actually influenced the activities of a lot of black women.
But I don't even think that most of these white women have the kind of body we are trying to work. Because
No, the kind of the body, the Kim Kardashians.
She's a model.
Yes, the Kim Kardashians. They've gone through a lot of surgeries.
Caucasian doesn't have an hourglass figure.
Okay.
Yes, an average Caucasian does not have an hourglass figure.
Kim does. Kim does.
Okay, maybe like that's a
Kim
perfect
does.
example.
She's like the perfect model everyone wants to look like.
But if you ask me, she's gone under the knife several times to have that kind of banging body.
Exactly.
Yes. And that's the word. That's another catchphrase there for this whole craze. Banging body. Everybody wants to have a bang body. You know, you want your butt to be lifted in a certain way. You want your waistline to be a certain way. And then something you were discussing, the fact that sometimes they make it look like it is what the men want. But oftentimes you realize that the men are not even on this table. It's actually a competition between the women. Who wants to have a better looking body than the other, who want people to have more conversations about your body type than the other person. Because I mean that, like you said, it's actually different strokes for different folks. The average African man wants his woman with a lot of meat. At least that's what we grew up to hear. I know it changes, I know it's different for different people, but the craze with this new thing, I don't even get it.
I think it's like a trend. Yeah. Just like we have fashion come and go, I think the trend for way back in 2001 when Albani Darego won Miss World contest and it was trendy for everyone to be slim, and at that time everybody wanted to be slim, everybody wanted to have a model figure. And then wind back to where we are now, when people are putting fats in the right places. I mean, you know, getting the
right places.
Now come on, you understand what I'm saying, right? Like increase, take fat from the tummy, put it in the backside, and put it somewhere in the of course. So that is what is trendy as of now. But going by what you said, and also trying to merge it with what Keith Wire said on that live, he said it's not actually the men.
It's not actually the
men. It is what women do that men tend to see. It is what, if women decide to go on low cut, like you see an average, a considerable number of women go on low cut, then you understand that a lot of women will tend to appreciate them better on low cut.
Yeah.
Then you start wearing long wigs, what's it called, bone straight and all of that, then it will become a criteria for for me to know, oh, my girl. And men have this thing, they want to chill with the most beautiful girl, so that when they're moving with you, they say, hey, your girl is beautiful, and all of those things. So by the time it becomes a criteria, and then the other man has a girlfriend who has a banging body and has a long flowing hair, and then your girlfriend comes with a low cut, and only you
the fact is that liposuction or any other type of body work is still surgery.
Yeah.
And as every surgery has a risk. Before you go under the knife, they're going to ask you to sign certain documents because it's a surgery and there is no guarantee whether or not you're going to come back alive. So oftentimes when you go under this knife, it's at your own peril. Now, I know that we are having this discussion based on, the lady in Port Harcourt who recently died. And then I know that the call out is mostly to the fact that, the surgeons are fake. They go to America or they go to another country and they come back telling you that they're specialized in this area and all of that. First of all, you took yourself to them. Number two, they might be specialists in these things, and there might be testimonies of several other persons who've successfully had these surgeries.
Of course,
yeah. But then surgery is surgery. Sometimes it works, sometimes it fails. people die for going to have their appendectomy
removed, yeah.
you know, worked on and all of those things. So but then surgery is surgery, and there is always risk. So some of the risks that you're going to have when you go for the surgery is that people bleed. In her case, it was said that she reported to the doctor she was bleeding.
Yeah.
And the doctor said, oh, don't worry about that. It's a normal thing. It's going to cease in, you know, a couple of hours or in a couple of minutes. Maybe that was, and we don't know how these things are being reported. It might just be a purported report.
Yeah.
We don't know. Were you there when she told the doctor? But nonetheless, so people bleed. And then oftentimes there is complications from anesthesia. I know that now, even for people who are going to have like C-sections, cesarean sections
Yeah.
for delivery of babies, they no longer give them complete anesthesia for the body. They just, you know, lock down from your waist down, but they want you alive up here so that you can see all of the activities, and you can even tell them when you feel like you're sleeping away, because oftentimes that's how people have slipped away, you know, into death. So these are some of the complications people experience even when they go for this kind of, you know, plastic surgeries and all. People can have complications with anesthesia. You just sleep away. And something else that I really like to emphasize is, you know, we are trying to take away fat from one place to the other. People have fat embolism, and fat embolism is just that tiny pieces of fat break away and block blood flow. These fats you're trying to extract from one place of the body and fix in another place, those tiny bits and pieces. I mean, this thing, God knew what he did when he did what he did. Humans just are really trying to play God. So you don't know when some of these fatty, you know, particles just escape and they begin to block blood flow, and then here the next thing the person is normal. There's just so much, you can't even speak about infections from the tools, the equipment that are used and all of those kinds of things. So it's just a lot of things. You think about you can't even overemphasize the fact that some people wake up from the surgery they went to have and they enter into shock. So
because of maybe the pains.
Yeah,
definitely.
The myriad of things that makes people to, you know, die on the table. So that we're not just bringing down the hospitals for their wealth. Yes, we would love for the government to have some regulations for these kinds of activities, you know, in the country. But then again, it is somebody's medical business.
Because I just wanted to say, even with all those things you're telling us now in terms of the effects it is having on people, you want to tell me that people do not know those things beforehand? They do know, but they still go ahead to do it. You know, they want to take that risk. They want to come out looking extraordinary.
Now this
do you understand?
They put the fear side by side with what they tend to achieve by having this banking body. And by the time what they tend to achieve outweighs what they feel could be possible, you know, outcome or
possible risk.
Aftermath of that, then they will just know that this one outweighs this other one, and then they go for it. Ultimately, it's their decision to make. But then again, I think it has to do more with human preferences, different persons, what they want for themselves. So there's little government can do in terms of trying to, you know, stop people from doing that, because one, they have the money to do so. But my concern is at the point someone would say, okay, a light went up during a surgical session, and then the patient passed on. Man, come on. Is it like 1 hour surgery? I don't understand.
It's not like 1 hour surgery, so how come there's no diesel in your
you know, you were telling us behind the scene about someone you knew that died because of this, and the flimsy, I call it flimsy, quite all right. It's a flimsy excuse because you pay so much. If they tell you how much they pay to get lipo done, you'll be shocked. Now, you want to tell me that you cannot use part of that money to make sure that there's enough diesel to run the electricity so that it doesn't fail at any point. And somebody's telling you that, oh, this person died because there was no power.
I think it's a very flimsy excuse, and it doesn't hold ground.
Very. I think such doctors or hospitals should be sanctioned. And license withdrawn.
I think another area we should even look at with regards to this liposuction is that sometimes it just goes south. You know, we have this thing that there's a program called Botched, where they show you surgeries that went south. People come to do their nose in a certain way, but they get it in another kind of way. I know oftentimes with like the bots, You'd go to get it in somewhere. One is standing up, the other one is coming down. And then some of these things over time they begin to sag. So I think you always have to go back and reaffirm them. Why do you have to go through such stress?
Well, there are lots of persons who are living their lives of their dreams, living comfortably well, and flaunting their banging body. In as much as a lot of them will say is waist trainer, but those on that table could be Nina Evie. That one wasn't hiding hers, and then she flaunted it and said, "Well, finally, I have it." And then, of course, I think she complained about pains, severe pains in the first 2 weeks.
I'm sure that's one of the side effects.
I'm sure with constant checkup and all of that, she's fine now. You can see she's living the life of her dreams. And she said she's more comfortable with her body. I think to a large extent, when people don't feel comfortable with their bodies, it makes them to have some sort of inferiority complex.
Exactly.
So once they have that banging body, that body that they feel is appreciated by every other person, then you see their self-worth, self-confidence things to pop up, and they're now walking like demigods around.
Demigod, right?
You know that.
Okay, but I also think that there are other healthy ways that you can use, to get a banging body. It's just the determination, the consistency, the discipline to make it work for you. There are foods you can take, there are exercises you can do that can help you get that banging body. But how many people want to wake up as early as 5 o'clock and hit the gym or hit the roads to go jog or something like that? I tried it before and I abandoned it. The rest is history. So it's not everybody that can actually be that consistent and disciplined.
Is like the easy way
out. Like the easy way out. Now, so far as you have some thousands or some millions of naira to throw away. So that's more like an easy route about it.
Well, that, truth be told, from one woman to the other, thankfully we are all 3 women. From one woman to the other, sometimes you see the results of this liposuction zone or this body work. Some of them don't come out alluring at all. You look at them sometimes, they are too fake to be alluring. I don't know how I can look at this and be like, my God, I just lost my breath.
That's between us now.
I'm going to call names now.
For the male folk, we need them to tell us how they feel about these things.
Even for the male folk, they know when it's not original.
They know.
And I don't think it gives them the same effect.
And they tell you that they can't be touching something that is official.
This conversation, I think this is the
point
where we can say, use our social media handles right now. We need to use our social media handles.
Please, we need to get comments and reactions about this particular thing.
Truth be told, like we've established, different strokes for different folks. In as much as a lot of persons will say, they're not comfortable with, the artificial thing or everything artificial hair, artificial bust, and I recall once that a basket mouth made a comedy out of it. I say, where's the Bobby? And they say it's under the bed. So they actually pulled it and put it under the bed. So yes, they want to see it real. They want to know that it's actually original and not fake. But then again, there are others who will actually pay for you to go have those something. That's the reality.
I believe that the feel of silicone is different from the works of God.
True that.
Silicone is silicone. It can't be like God.
True that.
Loud it. You need microphone?
True that.
Oh, well. Interestingly, I like the part where there are other natural ways you can actually do natural exercise without actually having to stress your head or move an inch to the gym. You can do squats, and then constantly doing it every day can actually, boost your hips and all of that. So yes, it's something practicable. It's something you can do if you really, really want to have this banging body. So
I think something we need to push as we just wrap up on this conversation is the fact that people need to learn to
appreciate
themselves, be confident in the body that you have. And I think oftentimes the problem is that we are hanging around with the wrong crowd. We are hanging around with people who tell us we don't look our best part because of the body types that we are in. I mean, if you are walking around with hourglass women and they talk you down for the figure you have, it's okay to change your friends. It's not a must that you must be with hourglass people, because like we said with regards to depression yesterday, societal pressure is too much. Most of the reasons, apart from people thinking they want to live their best life, is out of societal pressure. I have a personal friend who died, in the course of this. I think that was 2 years ago. And then the problem is like that you already have a family who you know that in your entire family, this is how all of you look. But you want to go under the knife and change, a body type that runs generations before you came. And you think that that's okay.
Now, another thing is this, that a particular person does not appreciate who you are, does not mean the whole world wouldn't.
I just wanted to say that. You be confident and comfortable in who you are
There's
first.
so much more
Build
to you
that
than your body
self-confidence.
type. There's so much more to you than your body type, we must say. Because some people are blessed with beautiful character, sense of business. Like the person we lost 2 years ago, she was doing massively good for herself in business.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is, except until you begin to love yourself for who you are, you will not get to see people love you for who you are as well. So, like Whitney Houston says, of blessed memory, yes, the greatest love is the love you have for yourself. So it all starts there. And of course, the words of Dari Atalade in his music, means all those things.
I like the way you are.
Yeah, I like the way you are. So start by liking the way you are, and then you get to see that tons of other persons actually do like the way you are.
Yeah.
And if 1 out of 10, or perhaps 3 out of 10, does not like the way you are, or do not like the way you are,
to the ones who
please turn around. There are a couple of others, a lot of
absolutely.
them. Mine, Facebook, you see them in your inbox. They're everywhere.
Absolutely. I think we'll just take a slide from this conversation. Hopefully, we're going to have comments that we can come back to. Let the men come and defend their rights with this conversation. But then we're going to
what
move
do they
on
actually
to
want in this life?
what do they want? We are going to have this conversation on another matter. You get so, but then we're going to move on from this conversation and go to Lagos State, and then try to spread it across the fact that Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has banned the use of motorbikes in 6 local governments areas in the state. And of course, there is a lot of outcry. Why should it be now that the economy is, being faced with all kinds of issues and all of that? And he has come out to defend why he says motorbikes should be banned. Of course, commuters are going to have a lot of issues managing their way. I know that when I read the story, I saw more ferries being put in certain ports. I am like me, I should be entering water to work every day.
The truth of the matter is this: there's no meaningful developments that will happen
without
in a community or a country without people needing or having to adjust their lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, it will be painful, it will be biting at the initial stage, but in the long run, they will learn or tend to appreciate it. Now, I'm saying this because it once happened in Akwa Ibom State. I recall back then when Gospel Akwabi once stopped motorcycle from, flying major roads in Rio. It was down to, the suffering was much. I think there's no name that the governor was not labeled with. And why did they stop it in the first place? A lot of persons use motorbikes to actually rob. It was so much at that time, and 419s operated more on motorbikes, and they would just pick up one person before you know they snatch something from you or take you to a certain location, and before you know, all that you had your entire life, all what you felt is gone. So the criminality that came with motorbikes, we're not seeing it now. We can proudly say Akwa Ibom is one of the safest places to be, which a lot of persons have agreed upon, the most peaceful in the entire country. That is accrued to some level of decision and policies that government have brought through over time, and with consistency to it. So yes, the people of Lagos State might be suffering at the moment, but I trust that they'll be fine. But another thing that I want to blame government is this: you don't just bring up policies. How would you bring up policies without possibly looking at how it will affect the people and try to see how you can salvage this?
I think before we get to how the Lagos State government is trying to cushion the effect of this particular ban, let us register the main reason why this ban was put in place. Now in 2020, they had put a ban on motorbike. But the how do you call it, compliance wasn't total, so they kind of overlooked it. But something happened recently. Because of 100 naira, some group of bikers burnt a music director or a keyboardist or something. Yes, a sound engineer. So I begin to wonder, how did it get to that point where somebody had to die because of 100 naira change? you know, this issue of how do you put it now?
Jungle justice.
Jungle justice. Thank you. That's the word. Taking laws into their hands. So I think if the Lagos state government is coming to say, look, we are going to ban you totally, I give it to them. It wasn't enough to kill somebody. It wasn't enough to kill somebody. But again, another aspect is livelihoods will be lost now.
Well, that's the part I was coming to, because if perhaps government were proactive, they know they're going to stop motorbikes, and then they put up some, could it be tricycle, either tricycle or mini buses, and then they say bring your your motorbike, and in exchange you get a tricycle. Then
But
you
they've
pay
said they
on
are
the
going to
balance.
get more minibuses. They
They
are going
said
to
they
get
are going to
BRT
I think it's something that should
also,
have been
it should have
implemented.
happened before the stoppage.
okay,
So
the
yes,
ban.
at the point of always saying they will, it's like they are not always proactive, and that is where the part doesn't sit well with people. Because I mean, you cannot halt people's daily activities because you're trying to implement a good policy. Then there's a way we can implement good policies, and then it doesn't feel good. It doesn't get too much.
Doesn't bite really
And
hard.
help the transition to be seamless.
Seamless.
Yeah.
That's the point. So yes, they would have gotten more minibuses as much as possible, because perhaps they would have taken statistics like how many persons are driving the motorbikes in that region at that time.
Yeah.
Then it could have been not more than 200 to 500 persons.
Yeah.
Then you get minibuses about 500. That's not too much for government to do.
Yeah.
And then exchange it in higher purchase. Let the Ministry of Transportation handle it. And then
Yes.
you know that in as much as we say stop now, then tomorrow somebody wants to board a public vehicle and then get to his work, and then it sees in the absence of motorbikes, sees a tricycle, will enter.
Yes.
Why won't he enter?
Because
Why would
so
someone
far-
have to walk miles for up to 2 weeks before government to now say, oh, we will. Man, it doesn't look, doesn't
And
make
then
sense.
you
I
also
don't
have
think
to
so. I
know
think
that-
all those things have been put in place, kinda. Yeah, all those things have been put in place.
But we always hope for better implementation. And you know, another thing is, government always has to look into the fact that some places that these motorcycles go into, cars can't, because of the deplorable state of roads. It just looks like this road that we walk, where we walk, cars don't commute this road. So
Often.
it's just like you coming to often,
Often, yes, because cars commute.
Yeah.
you can count the number of cars that come in here. Because if you say that you're going to ban the bikemen that stand at Ikpa Road to bring us here to work, then we're going to have more problems on our hands than we can count. So saying that is going to bring a greater good to the community if you stop motorbikes is one thing. But in
Greater
reality,
good,
do we
no.
have the roads for even the tricycles to commute effectively without us having problems? That's one thing. As of yesterday, like she said, it was an issue of compliance earlier on. Yes, but then as of yesterday, 140 motorcycles and their riders were arrested in Lagos State, even with the passengers who went.
Well, now
So that
here's the
affecting
trick before we wrap up on this. The trick is this, and I think I should be paid for as a consultant so that I can let this out. But please, if you just say please, I would say it.
Please.
The best way to do now, if you're in Lagos State, the best way to manage the situation, just get a delivery box behind your bike, and then
move.
you have a cruise. No one is going to stop you, and then you do that until you're able. The situation is under control.
Yeah.
But well, that's free consultation. Thank you.
if they ask you what to deliver, I'm going to deliver my service at work.
That's all.
That's all.
All right, we'll go on a short break to head on to the news brief desk to find out what else is happening across Nigeria. Yes, stay with us. We'll be back after that.
elections in Nigeria is characterized by fraud.
It is not pure election because of the way they conduct it.
The elections are here again.
For us in Akwa Ibom State,
It is another opportunity to elect
credible and potential leaders.
But I see some of them are not really credible.
In fact, when you talk about the credibility in Nigerian system, it's absent.
As for the aspirants,
what are your plans to better the lives of citizens and ensure that it is not just another era of political promises.
Some aspirants came up with so childish kind of manifesto, something that you know that they cannot do.
Even if after campaigning and promising heaven and earth, you find out that by the time they come in, they cannot do 50% of what they promised.
Because they are coming to see this. If they don't use this, they will not achieve what they want. So it is the normal thing they must use to convince a man that does not have a proper ideology to vote them.
So it's just a mere slogan. It's just a mere slogan to use and have their right into power.
What do you, the people, think about the elections?
The electoral process has been marred by malpractice and all of that.
That's a bad thing in Nigeria. All election night, you about money.
Definitely, no matter what the reform they are carrying out, they will still be rigging.
it's about the aspirants, the manifesto,
the people's view, an in-depth analysis.
That godfatherism is what has eaten deep into our political system. It has become a cankerworm that has left our political system into a corrupt system.
If it is not godfatherism, somebody like me, I will become the counselor. So because I don't have a godfather, it will not work.
Because people feel that they will come and invest, they need to get something back home. So the major aim is not about the people, it's about their family and themselves.
Godfatherism will not help the politics to grow. It won't help democracy to grow.
Vote buying will even be more this time around because these people, most of them have stolen a lot of money and they will use this money to buy votes.
who gets to represent you in government at all levels.
Well, for me, the new breed aspirants, I would love the new breed aspirants. But for those, there are some of them that will not, I would say, definitely, I wouldn't want them to come back definitely to power.
Join us on Akwa Ibom Decides every Saturday and Sunday by 3 p.m. each day, exclusive to Spectrum Television, as we take on the aspirants set to lead you.
Politics is a game. It is about delivering dividends of democracy. For this, accountability is key. So we listen, we follow up on the promise, and we track the progress. Watch Political Spectrum weekdays, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., exclusive to Spectrum Television.
A knowledge of global businesses, economic activities, a new wave of the stock market, forex market, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs creates new dynamics towards emerging market millionaires and billionaires. From the dot-com era to the oil booms, the fundamental news drives the market. This is Business 360, taking you to the business around the globe. Join us from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. weekdays, exclusive on Spectrum Television. Business 360, your prism to world businesses.
police force, which is the only one allowed by gross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court, my lord.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. for Legally Speaking.
Elections in Nigeria is characterized by
government.
The elections are hearing for us.
Voting for Spectrum TV to improve 45 seats to counting.
Good morning. This is Spectrum News Brief at this hour. I am Uyai Ania Khan. Begin with a report that President Muhammadu Buhari's call for global cooperation to avert a looming food crisis as the war between Russia and Ukraine rages. The president made the call in Madrid, Spain, at the Royal Palace during an audience with King Felipe VI in continuation of his visit to the country. In health, the federal government has warned Nigerians against the consumption of bushmeat following the outbreak of monkeypox in the country. In a statement, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohammed Abubakar, said the warning was to ensure the situation was contained. In the run-up to the 2023 elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has expressed worry over the 20 million permanent voters' cards still lying unclaimed in its vault. INEC's Deputy Director of Voter Education, Mary Nkem, raised the concern at the launch of the PVC Bus Drive project, organized by a non-governmental organization, the Advocacy for Civic Engagement in Abuja. In the meantime, members of the Nigeria Union of Pensioners have vowed to mobilize votes for any political aspirant who would uphold their interest. President of the union, Godwin Amobisi, who spoke to newsmen in Abuja, said the days when politicians wooed senior citizens for elective offices and ignored their plight after winning elections were over. Moving on to the foreign scene, where an official photograph of the Queen has been released ahead of celebrations to mark her Platinum Jubilee. The portrait by Ronald McKinney was taken in the Victoria Vestibule at Windsor Castle earlier this year. In sports, Anthony Joshua's rematch with Oleksandr Usyk is set to be staged at Jeddah Superdome, a record-breaking arena in Saudi Arabia. A date for Joshua's second world heavyweight title fight against Usyk is yet to be confirmed, but management at Jeddah Superdome confirmed it is a preferred venue to host the blockbuster bout. And on our entertainment news, Johnny Depp has won his defamation case against former wife Amber Heard, whom he sued over claims of domestic abuse. Reacting, Heard said she was disappointed beyond words and called the verdict a setback for women, while Depp said he was truly humbled and that the jury had restored his life. We'll have details of the stories and more in our news at 12. I am Uyai Anieken. Have a wonderful morning. We head back to you,
government,
General,
delegates.
This would be Lagos, Nigeria today as we want to improve 45 seconds to counting.
All right, welcome back to Rise and Shine. Of course, we're reaching you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiako, Uran. And today, which is a Thursday, we normally talk education, and our focus is rethinking the future of Nigerian educational system. Now, so many people will think that the Nigerian educational system hasn't totally collapsed, but the question is, can we compete favorably with other people or other climes? These and so many other things we'll be discussing along those lines this morning. Back to you, Otobasi and Uyai.
Indeed, when you talk about education in Nigeria, a lot of persons will feel there is no life, no future, no hope. And now that is given the fact that ASU is on strike as we speak. And of course, a lot of persons are concerned as to where the priorities of government lies to allow ASU and the teeming population of Nigerian students to stay home in a critical time like this, where the nation is in the process of electing new leaders, which of course these persons should be actively involved and not perhaps be used as would I say hoodlums or thug to instigate violence in the polity. But then persons are worried truth of the matter is, you said that it's not the end, but where is the life in it? If ASU is in strike and they are demanding for, not just for personal gains, but that's for academic staff union now. But top on that list, one of their demands, major demands, is revitalization of the institution. Well, a lot of people, some of them have said that that's like the last hope for Nigerian education, because the primary school is nothing to write home about.
Yeah, because I actually wanted to like say, let's start even from the basic, which is primary schools.
Definitely.
Let's see how, you know, the educational system in this country is affecting. There are lots of challenges today affecting even from the primary schools, and that's why we have so much proliferation of private schools. Everybody wants to come up with their own schools, because when you look at government-owned schools, is government doing enough to make sure that, you know, these children get the much needed education? Now, let's not forget that education is not education until it is quality education, until it is accessible.
And the truth is this: half education is worse than an illiterate. So it's better you're not educated than for you to be, you know, half-baked, because you might be worse than someone who never really goes to school, because you'll be displaying high level of ignorance, still claiming that you're a graduate, or still claiming that you're educated, as the case may be. So if you want to take it, going back to the primary school level, I mean, I don't know if there's any better word I can use to describe the situation in our primary schools, in the government primary schools, because I'm not sure there's any person that has been in this country for up to even a month that does not understand the dynamics that what actually transpires there. Could it be the environment where they don't have, you know, ordinary desks to sit and learn? I recall seeing on Facebook a picture that some people were sitting on the floor to get tutoring, to get a class, to attend classes, and then one humanitarian and one very philanthropist abroad saw the picture and then sent money to one of his relatives down here in the country, and then they actually created about 30 desks for that particular classroom, and the picture was reposted, I think 2 weeks after. So it goes a long way to show that these things are there, and it's not only him that saw that picture. Perhaps other government officials saw it, and perhaps even it got to, you know, the Ministry of Education. And it's not that this is strange, because they drive past our roads, they see the primary schools, they know the situation there, but then nothing is done about it. So it's like everybody has given up on the primary school, because now in the private sector, nursery school proprietors have come in to salvage that situation. So if you have the money, you can send your child or your worth to a proper nursery school where you can have good facilities.
Now, how many families in Nigeria do have this money? And that's why when I started, I said education is not education until it is quality, first of all, and then it is accessible. Okay, so if we are saying that government should leave, let's not also forget that during the course of this week, we talked about providing basic infrastructure. Now, education is more like government providing basic infrastructure. That is what they are supposed to do. They owe the citizens that particular role. So if they are not doing what they are supposed to do and they are leaving it for private sectors, how can people who do not have the money to, you know, patronize these private schools, how will they send your children to school? Let's not forget there are people living in rural communities.
The situation is bleak, and all we have is more questions begging for answers at this point. Because truth be told, in as much as the private body or entrepreneurs have come up with nursery schools and then try to solve the problem in the primary section, which of course the primary school teachers are not doing enough to ask for demand for some of these facilities to be worked on, just like what ASU is doing. Because if every sector, either the primary education board or the secondary education board, would have to organize a protest or perhaps a strike action to call or to drag government's attention to them, they will realize that we actually do not have any functional educational system in this country. And then the situation is bad that it is even worse in primary schools and secondary schools, in as much because of that situation, the worsening situation in those arms is what ASU is saying. If they keep quiet, then public universities will become crap. It will become what primary schools have become over time. So yes, that is why they are doing this. That this is like, would I say a do or die for them, because they just want to serve public institutions. So taking it back there, my concern is this: in as much as entrepreneurs or individuals have come up with private schools, what are the regulations about these private schools? That's a whole world entirely that is still also, since it's sole proprietorship, most of them are sole proprietorship, so then they detect whatever happens, say, from the textbook. You see disparities in textbooks. Back then, when we were in schools, what we had was just, Macmillan, like everybody knew it was Macmillan. And for, a little deviance, you had better English. And then it was statutory and binding that even the Macmillan we read, that's why I can say Ngozi or Eze goes to school here, and someone in Lagos will actually know Eze went to school, because there was that uniformity. But now we see books that are coming from all sort of publishers, even pirated copies sold in school bookshops, that you get a book for your child today, and then the next 1 week the book is all torn, and now you're dealing with children that might not be able to handle those books properly. So issues of regulations, I think if government has slacked in terms of education in their public school, in the public school that is run by government, they should actually constitute and make proper regulations for those individuals that are coming up with schools. Because trust me, in the near future, if this trend continues, even the private schools would not be anything to write home about.
Yeah, I know that going forward, in the time that we are in, building up to the coming elections in 2023, I believe that it is important the kinds of conversations we have and the kinds of narratives that we drive, even as media houses in the entire nation. So we should begin to have discussions that draw the attention of these people who are beginning to vie for offices. I think Nigeria has gotten to a point where we don't want people to come out and give us blank checks as promises for the things they're going to come to for us in the government. We are talking about rethinking the future of education in Nigeria. It already speaks of the fact that where we stand, we do not have a future for education in Nigeria. So we are trying to rethink the future. What hope does the education sector in this country have with the kinds of things we are experiencing, with the lackadaisical attitude that the government is, putting in, the way they're handling the matters of education, and the way that even the teachers are also handling it? Because I believe that with the kind of passion that our parents had when they were in this job, it is different from the kind of passion that the current people in the system have.
Now, what led to the disparities in passion and zeal? Two things: one, unemployment; two, wages system, reward system is poor. Now, if I had a mother who was a teacher, and I lived in a home where perhaps my daddy and my mommy were teachers in schools, and then I know I suffered all through because government never really used to pay them. And even when they retired, government is still owing them. What would make me want to be a better teacher tomorrow?
Those are some of the conversations. But now I think this line I'd like to take us to some of the steps that some people are already putting in to help. I know that, like, in the past week, the Lagos state government had partnered with Finland to boost its comprehensive schools. Now, comprehensive schools are the basic, education sector. Like, we're talking about primary schools now in Lagos State. Now, the state government deliberately, partnered with Finland to have a training with the Timipre University of Applied Sciences. Now, the program was geared at helping their teachers to pick up new methodologies and strategies that will be incorporated into the system of the comprehensive schools and help their schools to get better. I'm saying that if more state governments can adopt these kinds of initiatives in whatever way they decide within their states and implement it, we can begin to carve out a new future for education in our states.
I know we are very good at adopting patterns from different countries. Like, for instance, we took a constitution from United States that have practiced for centuries, and then we just want to practice democracy without putting the dynamics of the Nigerian society into it. Now, yes, Finland stands as one of the best in terms of education. You can take that from them. Now, how did they start? It's not just adopting it. You have to understand that in Finland, until you are 6, you cannot start education. And
no, I don't think it's adopting, but this is more like a collaboration between the Lagos state government and the Finland government.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
more like an I think get our teachers more trained.
I think what you said, which I picked up from that particular one, is that we need to begin to train and retrain teachers.
Exposure.
Because you find out that today, the kind of teachers that we have, let's go back to the primary schools. I'm very concerned about that because that's the basic. You have situations where your child comes home and is saying something wrong, and you're telling that child, no, this thing is not supposed to be said like that.
Or my teacher said.
Your child tells you, my teacher said.
And
he sticks to it. So let us start
it all
with
depends
teachers.
on the confidence that your child has in you, because if they know that mommy is always right and mommy doesn't lie, then they'll come and tell you, mommy, did you hear what my teacher said? And then my teacher said X, Y, Z. I told her, no, my mommy said it's not like that.
But we have situations like that, okay? Now, how groomed and ready and qualified are these teachers in our public primary schools? And then let's not also forget that today, people, you talked about unemployment. Today, people just wake up and like, okay, so I don't have a job. What do I do to just leave the house?
What's the next available job?
Yes.
And it's teaching.
As a means
and they
of
go there.
making ends meet.
As a means of making ends meet. They go there.
They're
not even capable. No passion. They're not even experienced.
The skill set is lacking.
They don't even speak good English. Okay? They caught it from here, join it there, and speak. And these kind of people are the ones training the future of tomorrow, or the future leaders of tomorrow. Now, tell me how the foundation of such children will be solid enough to even want to compete favorably with children of other countries. And look at it now, the kind of educational system that we have in the country. We have doctors doing what we call brain drain, okay? So doctors are leaving Nigeria and going to other countries. But do you know that in time past, these doctors will leave the country, go to other countries and practice perfectly well without any form of, writing any kind of exams. But today, the story is different. If you leave Nigeria now to other countries, you have to write some form of exams to make sure that you get qualified.
You're certified.
So these are the kind of things that we should begin to look for a way to really rethink the educational system in this country.
Well, here's the point I was trying to come to with the case of collaborating with Finland.
Yeah.
Let's take, for instance, you want to collaborate with me, and perhaps what I was doing, let's still use education as the instance here. So yes, I like what they do there. Until you are 6, you cannot start education. Just like what we used to have back in Africa, until your hand is able to touch the other ear before you start education. That way, your brain, the brain of a child, matures to a certain level. They can comprehend certain kind of unprocessed, certain kind of information. And now that is one part. Then you want to collaborate with me, and then you bring in, you start with, let's say, the primary education. In primary 1 in Nigeria, we will have people within the age grade of 4, 5, 6. And now if they are starting at age 6 there, you might have people of 7, 8. You cannot have the same impact. You cannot have the same results given the same, okay, I've trained you, go and replicate that with your own. You will not get the same result I'm getting in Finland. So that's the point I'm trying to create here. When we want to collaborate or adopt a process, let's look critically on how that thing is done and try to mimic the same dynamics. If you don't do it the same, it's like a lab experiment. Now I'm putting soda first before water, and you're putting water first before soda. We cannot get the same result. It's not rocket science. So yes, Nigeria really needs to sit back and look at things that are peculiar to them, and then look for what actually would work for them, so that we don't get it wrong. At this point, we've gotten a whole lot of things wrong, and then trying to right the wrongs we need to be more careful with that.
Yeah, anyways, I think we also have a situation here in Uyo where some people, I think next of kin, of
Primary
retired
teachers,
teachers, primary school teachers, went on strike because they could not have access to their proceeds. But again, it just shows that welfare of teachers, because you cannot do without, welfare. It's more like a motivation. Okay, so let's get to motivate these teachers so they can put in their best foot forth in terms of teaching just children. I think that's one aspect that government has really lacked in terms of motivating, and I think that same motivation is what is making ASU go on strike. In 2020 the ASU strike lasted almost 1 year, and then this year too, back and forth.
It started, they call rollover. It started December. After 2 weeks, after first 3 weeks, they rolled over 4 weeks. After 4 weeks, they rolled over again 8 weeks, and then it keeps going. And they're saying they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop until government does something about it. And it's saddening because we are getting towards perhaps those who were in school should have been rounding up. Those who were in final year should have been rounding up by now, but unfortunately they might not be. And that's why even this week the National Association of Nigerian Students also actually threatened to shut down every federal government facility in the state. They threatened to shut down the gates of ExxonMobil in Eket, which of course is the engine room of which Nigeria gets the national cake to actually split around. So yeah, it's that bad.
But I seriously think that, aside from the NANS protesting, I know that once or twice, what do you call them now? The House of Reps and the Senate, have tried to wade into the matter to see how they can actually bring a lasting solution to the issue of access, ASU. But let's also, I think I have something here that was said by the former governor of Abia State now. He said, Ojuzo Kalu, he said that, let me see, it says the states and federal government are supposed to pay strict attention to education. It is irresponsible for any government to deny attention to the educational sector.
Definitely.
I think it is really irresponsible.
That's why a lot of persons are actually voting for, the candidates or the aspiration of Peter Obi, former governor of Anambra State, because I think that's like the only aspirant that's talking about education. And he says the only thing he would do for Nigeria is 1, education, 2, education, and 3, education. So every problem of Nigeria begins and ends with our educational system. For him.
I think we have a feed from the NANS protest that just occurred. So I think we need to share this feed with our audience so that they can relate with what the things we're talking about. So I think we just have that feed now, and then we can always come back to these conversations that we're having.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. I say we shall always fight for our right. I say solidarity forever. I say solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. Freedom come. Freedom come by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. We have come by struggle. Oh, we have come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. I say soon become by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. I say God he come by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. Opiaro come by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. Justice is coming by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle.
All right. Good afternoon, if I am correct. My name is Comrade Kanubutebe, the PRO of Nanzonde. That's the image maker and the peace mouth of this zone. We don't want to go far. I don't want to talk much. We are very, very angry over the nonchalant attitude of ASU and federal government. They are taking us for granted. Let me take you back to the memory lane. The operation airline operators of Nigeria had threatened to go on a strike, and federal government immediately brought out 6 million liters of petrol subsidized for them. So education is a free for all. We can now just do whatever we like with education. They have been going on agreement, I'll be on a meeting 3, 4, 5, 7 times. We do not care. Now we don't want to throw blames on anybody. All we want is open our classrooms, open our campus. Aluta continua.
Upon the greatest Nigerian student, most articulate Nigerian student, we go do go Nigerian student. Great Bo, great Ba. Yes, I'm Comrade King Tamara Brie, the coordinator of National Station Nigeria Students, NAS Zone B. You can see the massive turnout of Nigeria students. That also gives you a conviction that Nigeria students, we are indeed angry about the ongoing incessant ASU strike that has affected Nigeria students in our various campuses. Our points are very clear. The federal government and the ASU body should come to a moment of understanding, to come to a negotiation table where they will call off this ASU strike for Nigeria students to return back to campus. Gone are those days where we'll sit, relax, fold our hands, and wait for federal government and ASU to mortgage our destinies. Today, as National Station Nigeria students, now zone, under my watch as a coordinator, we have decided to take our destiny by our hand by coming to the streets, by coming to Akwa Ibom State, another rest part of the South under my jurisdiction. I want to send it very clear to the federal government. If by the end of this peaceful protest, if they don't call off this strike and go to a memorandum of understanding with the federal government, then we are going to do a confrontation or shutting.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. I say we shall always fight for our right. I say solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. Freedom come. Freedom cometh by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. We have come by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. Freedom come by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. I say soon become by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. I say God he come by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. Opiaro come by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. Justice is coming by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle.
All right. Good afternoon, if I am correct. My name is Comrade Kanubutebe, the PRO of Nanzonde. That's the image maker and the peace mouth of this zone. We don't want to go far. I don't want to talk much. We are very, very angry over the nonchalant attitude of ASU and federal government. They are taking us for granted. Let me take you back to memory lane. The airline operators of Nigeria had threatened to go on a strike, and federal government immediately brought out 6 million liters of petrol subsidized for them. So education is a free for all. We can now just do whatever we like with education. They have been going on agreement, I'll be on a meeting 3, 4, 5, 7 times. We do not care. Now we don't want to throw blames on anybody. All we want is open our classrooms, open our campus. Aluta continua. Upon the greatest Nigerian students, most articulate Nigerian students, we go young Nigerian students. Great Bo, great Ba. Yes, I'm Comrade King Stamara Brie, the coordinator of National Station Nigerian Students, NAS Zone B. You can see the massive turnout of Nigerian students. That also gives you a conviction that Nigerian students, we are indeed angry about the ongoing instant ASU strike that has affected Nigerian students in our various campuses. Our points are very clear. The federal government and the ASU body should come to a moment of understanding, to come to a negotiation table where they will call off this ASU strike for Nigerian students to return back to campus. Gone are those days where we sit, relax, fold our hands, and wait for federal government and ASU to mortgage our destinies. Today, as National Station Nigerian students, now zone, under my watch as a coordinator, we have decided to take our destiny by our hand by coming to the streets, by coming to Akwa Ibom State, another rest part of the South under my jurisdiction. I want to send it very clear to the federal government. If by the end of this peaceful protest, if they don't call off this strike and go to a memorandum of understanding with the federal government, then we are going to do a confrontation of shutting.
Politics is a game. It is about delivering dividends of democracy. For this, accountability is key. So we listen, we follow up on the promise, and we track the progress. Watch Political Spectrum weekdays, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., exclusive to Spectrum Television.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Rise and Shine. And yes, we've been bringing you conversations about all of the very topical issues happening around our nation. And today, our main conversation is about the education sector in Nigeria. We are rethinking the future of education in our nation. And yes, please do feel free to engage in this conversation by following us on all our social media platforms. You can send us a text message through the number displayed on our screens. Send in your comments and we will take it on as we converse with our guest who just walked into the studio. Welcome, Mr. Benjamin Benson.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Welcome, sir. Mr. Benjamin Benson is the secretary to the widows and late teachers of the Akwa Ibom State branch. Yes, and here this morning, we're here to have the conversation with him with regards to the protest that they had on Monday, with regards to the things owed to late teachers and some of the retired teachers also who have not been able to get their gratuities and other fees that the state government is supposed to have paid them.
So how well is that going? The last we heard was that the government had actually disbursed some part of the money, and that the payment was going to be done in batches. When was the last batch paid, and have you heard and had any word from the government?
Well, it is rather pathetic because when you think that the government should be sincere on some things, and we still come back to this level, like you said, government said they will be paying in batches. So what constitutes a batch? How much constitutes a batch? Because you look at the whole money that is involved, 33 billion. Now you are paying in batches, agreed. But how much is a batch? 200 million. So paltry. Not even up to 1% of the total amount involved. And how regular is the 200 million coming in? The verification ended last year. For those that were not captured, it was done this year, about a month ago or so. But when you look at the total amount involved and what government has been able to release as batches, so far they've released up to 4 batches of 200 million, about that. What they have been able
And that's
to pay,
about
850 million.
Okay.
Not even up to 1 billion for the 4 batches. So
within what period of time?
Between April of last year and December of last year. Nothing has been released this year for the payment of these entitlements. And so if you look at it, if this government goes ahead like this, so by let's say maybe by the end of this year, they will release a batch, 200 million. So they are leaving so much behind for the incoming government.
Okay, so before you went into the protest which happened on Monday, was there like a negotiation ongoing to make sure that this is solved or it is resolved? And is there still any negotiation on the table?
Yes, before we went on that peaceful protest, we had written to see the Honorable Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Honorable Frank Achibon, who is like...
Are they directly involved?
Yes, his
in
ministry is directly involved in this issue.
Okay.
And we had a meeting with the head of civil service, I think in March, and he said that government has released some money for payment, for this same payment. But between that March and Monday of last week that we went on that peaceful protest, nothing has happened. Nothing has happened.
Now,
practically nothing has happened.
Let me come to you on this. Like what is happening with the academic staff union of Nigerian universities? They had an MOU written and signed by government, and they are striking on the basis of the government not fulfilling or not keeping to their own part of the agreement. Was there any sort of agreement entered into by this association of retired primary school teachers and their next of kin and the government? Because that to a large extent should explain this payment process. Was it going to be done randomly, or after 2 months then you get another batch, some money disbursed into the system? What was the arrangement like?
Yes, there are a series of agreements, not once, not twice. I remember in 2020 we were about going on a peaceful protest too. So the government came in, commissioners, 2 commissioners, the Frank Achibon that I've just mentioned and the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy. They came in and said the governor, they are emissaries from the governor, that the governor is pleading with us to stand down the peaceful protest, that is going to take up the payment. In fact, so much was done, and there was a written agreement, because even the Nigerian Union of Nigerian Labour Congress was part of this negotiation. And they said they said that they are not going to be involved because government has always reneged on agreements reached. So, but finally we had an agreement, and the agreement that government should start payment.
Now, was this agreement verbal or written?
It was written, signed by the 2 commissioners on behalf of the governor. And so, but after the agreement was reached, nothing practically happened in 2020.
Within this agreement, was there any structural pattern of payment, of disbursement, when it comes to, is it the batches, the payment in batches? Was there any structure for it?
No, there wasn't. There wasn't. People,
okay, so another thing. Okay, go ahead.
This issue of batch by batch payment wouldn't have come in if this government had commenced payment in 2015.
Were they supposed to pay in all?
They were supposed to pay all. No, like, okay, for instance, let's assume my late mother died in 2010. I am supposed to take my document to Subek. I am screened. They have all the information about her career, service, and it doesn't have. I don't have to wait till somebody else dies in 2015, assuming. So we all be going at the same time. People should be verified based on when they die or retire. Yes. So this batch by batch payment came in when government left so much backlog. From 2015, this particular government did nothing about it, and for 6 years, nobody was paid. People kept retiring. People kept dying naturally, and because
for 6 years. From which year to which year?
From 2015, when they came in, because past governments, like the government of His Excellency Atta, he paid from 1991 to 2000. The government of Senator Pabio paid from 2001 to 2010. Those were 10.
So this accumulation of backlog was for this administration.
Let me just clear some things. There were issues of spillovers, people that were not cleared, people that did not present themselves for verification, and the rest of it in these past 20 years. So this government came in 2015. They should have done something from 2011 to either 15 or 16 then. Now we will not be talking about so much in-depth backlog. We will not be talking about that. But they left the whole backlog pending. Nobody did anything.
For how long?
For the number of years they spent now, 15 to 22.
I really want to get something straight now, because when we keep saying that government is not doing this, government is not paying, it brings to mind, is the government saying that there are particular challenges they're facing that, you know, has emanated to this delay, or there's something that you people aren't doing? Because if you look at it, you know, sometimes they tell them come for verification, sometimes they tell them bring your biometrics, and these things are not there. So it's difficult for government to really come together to say, okay, these are the people we are owing and these are the people we want to pay. So is the government saying anything like these are the challenges that, you know, is making us not to pay this money?
There's no challenge, because all the entire workforce, let's talk about the entire workforce in Akwa Ibom State. The day you were given a letter of appointment, that document is with government. Every series of promotions that has to do with you is done by the government. The day you are going to retire, in fact, the government issues a letter of your retirement to you 6 months before you. They just like a reminder, which means that government has so much information about you. So at the point you are leaving service, they know. The day you are leaving service, they know. So nobody, even if assuming I don't have my own documents, government has those documents.
So the question I have is, you have mentioned the fact that the government has paid some money in some batches of about 200 million and thereabouts.
Yes.
Now, my question is, how do they get the people in these batches to pay? Because I'm thinking if they've paid some people in some batches, it means that there's some batches that have remained untouched. There are some people that have received some tokens out of their expected amount for gratuity, and there's some people that are not even touched at all. What are the requirements? Are they doing it based on years, or what's the requirement to even get into a batch to be paid?
Yes, like they said they have paid up till 2005 for the next of kin, but you still see people in 2002, 2003, 2004 that have not yet been paid. So how did government get to 2005 when people are still there not being paid? So like you've asked, nobody knows how they arrived at who they are paying. Because even as we speak, we hear that some certain influential people in government send lists to the consultant. I'm saying this because it is very obvious that the consultant has to treat lists from very influential people.
But we're not too certain about that anyways.
Well, until
there's more like an allegation
also
because she's asking a very touching question for me.
The truth of the matter is this: in as much as that is, you know, an opinion that solely belongs to you, and then of course might not actually be what is, you know, the reality. Wasn't it supposed to be reflected in the agreement? I mean, this agreement is supposed to be what government should work on, a binding document that can actually guide the payment process. At what point, or do you think you need to go into another renegotiation to set the terms and conditions for this payment in terms of what constitutes a badge? How, at what period of, at what interval does a badge get paid and all of that, and within what time frame should this backlog be completed?
No, it was supposed to be a monthly payment. The badges were supposed to come every month, at the end of every month. Yes, that agreement was done between the government and the Nigerian Labour Congress on behalf of the next of kin. So those issues were addressed at the point of that. The issue is never batch by batch payment. It is that the funds release is so inconsequential. It's not. It's
and
like
also not consistent to match the amount of. Okay.
It is not consistent. Government is not consistent in releasing those funds. For instance, the head of service in March told us that money has been released, but up till today, this is June, nothing has happened.
Okay, so you have had a protest on Monday.
Yes.
And we are privy rather to the letter you people sent to the state government. So far from the protest you had on Monday till this morning before you walked into the studio, has there been any feedback from the state government so far with regards to
none whatsoever, none.
So what channels do you follow to present your letter to the state government? Who takes it there? Are you sure of the delivery to the state government?
That's another.
Because one thing is saying we have protested and we have sent a letter. Delivery to the state government. How sure are we that these letters ever get to the desk?
For instance, if we write to His Excellency, the Governor, we also send copies of those letters to the Honorable Commissioner. We send the copies to the NLC chairman, the head of civil service. So they acknowledge that they have received those letters. So to the extent that they have acknowledged that they have received the letters, for me, those letters have been delivered. That's not the challenge. I don't think that's the challenge.
Okay, what do you think is the challenge at this point?
The challenge is the political will of the government to pay this money, to release this money. That's the challenge. The government has received all the letters. Apart from hand delivery, we also send them by courier. So if this one doesn't get to the governor must have gotten the one by courier.
Okay, so you have gone on a protest. What's the way forward now, and how do you guys intend to forge this ahead if there's no response from government?
Consulting. For instance, the Nigerian Union of Local Government Pensioners have joined with us. The Forum of Retired Primary School Teachers have joined forces with us. There was a letter issued to the governor too, I think 2 days ago, that if by the 13th of June that this money is not paid, another round of protest is going to commence. So apart from that, we are talking with the Nigerian Union of Pensioners. I think we have a meeting with them today, and several other bodies that we are not going on a peaceful protest because we like going on a peaceful protest. We wish that the government should pay before that day. Otherwise, it becomes our option. Not that we like it.
So well, at this point, like you've also mentioned, is there any collaboration with, Nigerian Union of Teachers? Because at some point, this might also be their case because they retire every day from service. Is there any collaboration between the retirees or retired primary school teachers and those in active service?
Well, unfortunately, those in active service, like the NUT, they are not doing enough. They are not doing enough. Not minding that some of them are going to retire very soon, but they are not doing as much as they should have done. Because, for instance, 2 months ago, about 3 months ago, I'm not very sure, they issued a strike warning to the state government and they listed their demands. The issue of payment of gratuity was about the second or third item on that list of demands. But at the end of the negotiations with government, between the NUT and government, that is, nothing was said about the gratuity issue. It was as if that matter was not there. It's not just the NUT, the NUP, that's the Nigerian Union of Pensioners. All the allied unions that are involved in this issue that should be actively involved. We are not seeing that kind of robust engagement with government.
Okay. So I have 2 questions before we wound this down. So far, so good. I know that you are like at the apex of activities with regards to these gratuities for retired teachers and the likes. But I'd like to ask, it means that you are in touch with most of these retired teachers. How would you say that they are faring in their day-to-day living without these gratuities that were supposed to have been paid to them? What would you say is the livelihood? How do they sustain themselves?
Well, Kai, that's another aspect, very touching aspect of. I mean, one of them attended our peaceful protest. A lady, the woman should be about 70 or thereabout, over 70 years. She had a sore leg, very big, massive injury on the leg, and she is retired. Her daughter was a serving teacher who died in active service. The daughter.
So we have families that not only one person is supposed to be paid.
We have families that both parents were active primary school teachers. Both died in active service, and the children are left behind, next of kin, not receiving entitlements of their dead parents for years.
And this entitlement, yes, this is something we needed to pull out. These entitlements are monies extracted from your pay on the go.
Pension.
So why should it be so difficult for the government to pick your money from where they withdrew it and kept and paid back to you?
That's part of the problem. That's part of the question we are asking. Something these people contributed. They contributed for most part of that money belongs to them. And at the point it was supposed to be refunded to them, just refund it to them at the point of retirement or death. Well, and it is taking all these.
It's really pathetic at this time, but Chibuto, we need to wind down on this conversation. What would be the position of your, group, the retired next of kin of primary school teachers? What's the next step forward for the group?
First of all, we want to reach out to relevant government agencies, the ministry, the commissioners. We want to speak with them. We want to interact with the Nigerian Labour Congress. Let them see the need to pay these entitlements, because life is not easy with these families. If that fails, we will still go back to the government.
Well, we wish you best of luck on that. Thank you very much, Mr. Benjamin Benson, for coming through on the show. And of course, send our regards to the rest of the members in the group. We completely understand and feel your plight. Perhaps government, this will get to government, and our governor that we know is someone who is actually very compassionate. That's the word. He's compassionate, he's godly. I think that's what I was looking for. And for someone who exhibits a Christ-like attitude, will certainly do justice to that. Perhaps you later then just get to the right table. Best of luck on that.
Thank you so much.
And of course, we wind down on this and we go on a short time out. When we come back, Rise and Shine will continue. Stay with us.
Nigerian police force, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Glad to have you back. Yes, we just concluded, finished speaking with Benjamin Benson, the Secretary of, retired primary school teachers and next of kin. So yes, it's quite saddening, a situation that they have to be facing because top of that, or the most pathetic is that these persons actually need their money for some health services, health challenges, feeding, which of course they are battling with at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And from the pictures that we saw there, you could see aged parents and clutches.
Yes.
These are not the kind of things that we should allow our parents go through. And we're also hoping that in the course of this, still talking about education in Nigeria and rethinking the educational system in Nigeria, we also hope to have the what's his name now? I said something.
State governor?
Not the state governor now. The head of service.
Okay, yes.
On the show, maybe later on next week, let's get to hear government side of the story.
Definitely.
Maybe there could be some challenges that government is going through that is not made open to these people. So I think there's just that breaking link of communication.
Perhaps it's not the head of service, that's those in the accountant general's office or those in the local government and chieftaincy, those that are in charge of being these retired primary school teachers.
Yeah.
So yes, perhaps yes, that would be needful to actually get the side of government.
Definitely.
To actually know why the backlog has not been paid and why the stop. I think he said some payments was done somewhat last year, up to 4 disbursement of 200 million naira, summing up to 850 million naira paid by government so far. But from his standpoint, he said that is really menial compared to the billions of naira owed them. And well, they need this money to survive. They need it because it's part of their money. It is their entitlement. And of course, it will also go a long way to reboost and put up some zeal in those that are in active service to actually put in their best and know that it will pay off. They have a future.
And I believe that with the turn of events, in this political era that we are, we see that there is money. So I believe that if we do this thing right, we can do it. But then, just wrapping this up in a way, our focus was on rethinking the future of the education sector in Nigeria. And I'd like to say that the welfare of teachers, the people that have served and passed on, giving something to the people that are left behind to take care of themselves is one way of securing that this sector keeps moving. But we know that there are so many initiatives that we would also like to celebrate the government for, and the ministries of education in all different states, and even bodies like JAM, WAEC, and NECO. We know that like JAM, UTME is looking forward to the establishment of UTME in foreign countries to encourage international students coming into Nigeria to study. So far in the course of this year, we have countries like the UK, the United Kingdom, a number of places, about 7 places that are going to be taking UTME, to include Nigerian education into the system. But I mean, that's a beautiful initiative pushed forward by the organizers of JAM. But we know that before we can succeed with that kind of initiative, we have to say no to striking. You're not going to bring an international student from all the way in the UK where they have good education, bring them to Nigeria, fly them down all the way to come get education.
And don't forget, perhaps it might not work, but for those of Nigerians who actually go to acquire education in the Western country, that they have a visa period of 4 years, of which you have to conclude your educational activities within that period. And if there is a strike within that period, it means that would have to be extended, or perhaps you'll be deported without actually having to complete your education. So yes, I'm telling you. So but perhaps this is a country where it's a free town for everyone, and regardless of whether or not you have a proper visa, you can still come in and leave. I hope that isn't the narrative anymore. But we'll have to still move ahead on this particular show, the Thursday edition, and then of course we're taking on Did You Know? That segment that brings you interesting things that you perhaps did not have an idea about. So yes, Did You Know comes up.
Caught in the act. Okay, so talking about memories and how your sharpest memories come from your early 20s.
Perhaps that's why we have to remember the primary school teachers today, because
you took that right out of my throat. I'm like, we need to give the retired primary school teachers and their children good memories of their serving teachers, their teachers that serve. Yes. We need to leave a good memory. Yes, please. So the government, please remember your memories from the 20s.
And I know from the 20s, how it used to be back in the days, right?
Back in the days,
how you used to enjoy, because I know at that time teachers were like the kings there. And if you were a teacher at that time, everybody will be looking at you like one demigod in the society. And more then you'll be speaking English, wearing short knicker with very long cane. Oh my
Just like when they say that every great man is made by a teacher or was made by a teacher. And if you look at it very well, that's just the truth about it. Definitely. Everybody seated here today,
let's give them good memories.
So let's give them good memories, So
let's take our health tips for the morning.
Okay, so I think I like the fact that yeah, just step out a little bit and then do some cycling. I remember the last time I tried to cycle, I fell down and hurt my hand, and the person that was trying to teach me came up with this idea. I don't know if it's silly, I should call it now. He said, "Oh, that's it.
How
That's
long
it."
was that?
Some couple of months back. He said,
Months?
"That's it.
Okay.
But once
Don't
you
worry, when
fall."
we get upset, I'll tell you why that happened. But well,
I really, yeah. That,
And they say, well, once you fall,
yeah,
that
it
means
strengthens you.
yeah,
to
it strengthens
but
you.
it took me 2 days to know how to cycle.
Whoa.
Yeah, 2 days. That was way back when I was like 14, 15.
For God's sake, you're talking of when you were 14. I thought you were going to say that in this your old age. I mean, sorry, in this your advanced age.
Don't worry, we'll trace her.
And you know, I thought you were going to say like maybe like in this your advanced age, it took you 2
No,
days.
no.
14, your brain
The
was
thing
still
is,
young.
once I
that
knew
was
it, I
young.
can still after that time when I started growing up into adulthood, and now that I am old,
Yeah.
Somebody's
I get to
mother.
ask somebody's mother, people's
Mother.
Yeah, I can actually still cycle. Even
you
if
look
you
great
drop,
as
even if you
people's
drop,
mother.
a bicycle here for me, you'll be shocked.
Yeah.
You'll be shocked. Wow, now you'll just be riding it, and then
I know that another encouragement there in our health tips for today is like to be invested in outdoor activities like gardening and all of those kind of things. I know that those are not things that we do. Oh yes, speaking
We
of
have
which,
we have a lot of greeneries.
and this is like
so you
green,
might
but
just
gardening
have
is
to
different. Gardening is different from this.
come on,
natural.
you
Just
can
get
just
a
get
spot
a
in
land.
your house, in your compound. But you know, like of recent, adding to this, there's a friend of mine who is actively, consciously trying to nurture plants within the house. So you just get like cups and small bowls and plants and daily nurture, water, watch it grow. I think it does something to your mind.
Yeah.
So I think that's something else we can do. Even if you don't have a garden space, everybody's outside now is tired. So but then you can plant within your home, like on your balconies and all of that thing.
flower beds.
Flower bases, just do that.
Okay. Well, it's interesting.
Yeah.
You can do that, especially for you who don't. Perhaps, do you have a farm?
Well, where I live, yeah, my mom has a large, expensive farm, but it's just that I just pass there in and out.
I think we just have to put a pause on that now and go to my favorite part. I'm a foodie, so let's look at
You need to take me out.
It shows in the
We need to go on a food date then.
Yeah, so let's look at the hot sizzling menu that we have today. Maybe something that you can try for breakfast or lunch. Anyone?
Wow, delicious, yummy looking delicacy.
Yes.
Great recipe that you would want to try out. But then, let's take the quote of the day. Oh, well, perhaps we'll leave you with the lines that do the best you can while you can.
Right?
Yeah. Of course, you have to do the best you can while you can until you can do better. Thank you very much for being a part of our show today. My name is Tutu Basitam.
And my name is Janice Cobham. Do have a great day.
I am Uyai Anyek, and let your day be full of great memories. Create them, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.